How's it going, everyone? And we all knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time after Nintendo announced $80 games and everything going on in the world that other publishers were gonna follow suit. And that's why, from the get-go, when I talked about the $80 games being here, it wasn't really to turn it into a console war type situation or a publisher war type situation, because at the end of the day, I knew what was going to happen. Nintendo is the one that opened the can of worms, but this can of worms was always going to get open, and if y'all want to pretend that Sony isn't going to jump on board, you look at those PlayStation Plus prices, you look at PS5 prices in other regions, oh, they're gonna jump on board, and I would say prior to the holiday season for sure. Microsoft has officially announced, however, that they are raising the prices of all Xbox Series consoles. Xbox games are confirmed to hit $80 this holiday. Xbox Series X are now $600. That's $599 US dollars. I'll go through the whole gamut of price increases. So Series S 512 gigs are going from $300 to $380. That's a significant markup. Xbox Series S 1TB is going from $349 to $430. Xbox Series X Digital is going up to $550 from $449. Xbox Series X, that's the standard model, equivalent to the PS5, up from $499.99 to $599.99. Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Special Edition will be going up to, wait for it, $730. That is more expensive than the current PlayStation 5 Pro price point, and I would imagine that those PS5 Pro price points are not long for this world. Xbox Wireless Controller Core, $64.99. Xbox Wireless Controller Color, yeah, you want a color variant, you're gonna be paying a premium, that'll be $70. Wireless Controller Special Edition, $79.99. Wireless Controller Limited Editions, $89.99. Elite Controller Series 2 Core, $149, that's up from $140. Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2 Full, that's $199.99, up from $180. Xbox Stereo Headset, $64.99, and wireless headset is now $119.99. And $80 games are gonna be coming this holiday season. I would imagine that that includes games that are coming up like Ninja Gaiden 4. That's the one that I think about where I'm like, I don't know if Ninja Gaiden 4 is one of those games that's gonna be like an $80 title that people would be happy about. But the fact is, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black came out at $49.99. I would not be surprised if Ninja Gaiden 4 is $80. Then there are games like The Perfect Dark Reboot, Clockwork Revolution, Gears of War E-Day, State of Decay 3, and I've always reiterated the point that I think there's a value outside of just obviously them raising the price point and making more money, but it creates that value proposition for Game Pass as well, because over here, oh my god, you gotta spend $80 for these games on PlayStation, on Xbox. You can get these games on Game Pass for whatever amount it is. I forgot how much Ultimate is these days. That's how you get the day one games. I imagine Ultimate's price point at some point is gonna go up, especially when they're gonna roll out a game like Gears of War E-Day. I could see the price point going up around that time. That's generally when you try to aim for price increases, when there is going to be a significant value proposition increase, although Sony would have you guess that you just increase the price point and lower the value proposition, as is the case with PlayStation Plus. That's always been the case with them, but I feel like with Xbox Game Pass, they're gonna aim for an E-Day coming out and then up the price of Game Pass. But if over here games are $80 and then all of a sudden you're talking about games being available on Game Pass, that does increase the value of Game Pass. Now, credit to Sony, they've already announced that Ghosts of Yotei will be $69.99. It is not going with an $80 price tag, which for now, that is great. I would imagine that games like Intergalactic, games like Marvel's Wolverine, that's gonna go up to $80. I really am curious, you guys, games that are like new IPs, how are they gonna fare at $80? It's one thing when a game like, I don't know, Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda, a new, let's say Last of Us Part 3 got revealed and it got released, and that being at $80, a Wolverine being at $80 because that's an IP that's established. Wolverine, I get, hasn't had a major game release in a while, but that's an established IP. In the sense of a game like Intergalactic Sorrows, for example, I don't think Sorrows at $80 sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Intergalactic, maybe you can make the argument, oh my god, it's Naughty Dog, $800 billion invested into this game, so it's gotta be $80. I think that game is gonna tank at $70 relative to what a Naughty Dog game should do. We can revisit that take, a couple of years from now, but I also look at a game like your Expedition 33s of the world that's priced at $50. Look at something like, oh my god, I'm totally blanking on the name of it right now. How can I be like this? It just got announced for its release date. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, excuse me. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, that is $49.99 as well. Both of those games also day one Game Pass titles, so it's interesting that we do have these budget games coming out and they're becoming a little bit more prominent. Atomfall also recently came out. I believe that was $50. You know, we are seeing a little bit more of that, and I've been saying for eons, it would behoove them scale these games back a little bit. I get the idea of lessening the price of the games isn't really within the thought proximity of a Sony, of a Microsoft. They're not looking to lower the price point of games. If $80 becomes an accepted price point, they're gonna release games at $80 as long as they can, but we're getting to the point, I feel, of pushing a lot of people away. $80 is insanity. I thought $70 was already crazy. However, let me reiterate, I already foresee the crazy takes out there. This is gonna make you quit gaming. Guys, there are so many great games to play. It's totally your prerogative on whether or not you feel like gaming is out of your price range now, or the value proposition just isn't there for how much money they're asking for. But you look at some of these other hobbies and, you know, it sucks that gaming is getting more expensive, but you can be selective with what you pick up. You can play older games. That's not the end of the world. I always look at games like a Red Dead Redemption 2 that came out in 2018, God of War 2018, and maybe you played all those games, but, you know, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, there I go again. You know, the Weeb games have to come out, but, you know, Prey 2017, there's so many great games from yesteryear that I do feel like a lot of people haven't played, and you can play those games. I think quitting gaming altogether isn't the right move, and I would certainly say if $80 games are gonna be the norm, be selective on what games you pick up right out the gate. Yeah, Expedition 33 comes out at a $49.99 price point and it's received incredibly well. Maybe pick that up day one, but Ninja Gaiden 4 coming out in the fall, if that's at $80, I would look at that if I was the average person and be like, do I really need to play that right now for 80 bucks? I could probably wait a couple of years and wait for that game to get a little cheaper. And look at the other games coming out in the fall and the summer. Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, that's a $50 game. Hey, they're pricing the game accordingly. I'll probably get a decent amount of content. That's a game I'll pick up day one. I just think you have to be a little bit more selective if you do care. Some people have disposable income and they'll buy games at $80 and whatever. But if you are in the position where you don't see value in $80 games, well, be a little bit more selective of what you pick up. I think, you know, the games that you're very excited for, maybe consider picking those up day one at 80 bucks. But, you know, there are going to be games coming out that probably you don't want to pay 70, 80 bucks for. Even 70 is a lot, and I would say the same thing at $70. You know, be a little selective. For example, when like Callisto Protocol came out, that's a game that, you know, $70 was highway robbery from the consumer. As far as people buying that game for 70 bucks. Man, that game was, I did not love Callisto Protocol. Like, I liked aspects of it, but $70 for that? Are you kidding me? Some of these EA releases, 70 bucks for them. You know, Immortals of Aveum, 70. Could you imagine if Immortals of Aveum was released at $80? Mind you, 70 was already too much. Dead on Arrival. It was already Dead on Arrival, even more Dead on Arrival. I think from a game development standpoint, the developers and the publishers, they have to be selective on how big they take these games to. Maybe it would behoove them to scale them back. I think Expedition 33, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, these are games to study in how they do. And not every game is gonna be a home run, even at a lower price point, but if you can scale these games back a little bit, I think that would behoove them. You'll have your opportunities for the bigger titles and greenlighting, you know, massive games, but when a game like Intergalactic comes out and it can potentially flop, that's a game that'll be a gigantic blow to Sony. If it does flop, who knows? Maybe I'm pushing the cart before the horse a little bit much on that game flopping, but I do expect it to not do up to their standards for a Naughty Dog game. But there's a lot of games like that. It's just not that. Clockwork Revolution, I think that game looks incredible. It'll be baked into Game Pass, but at an $80 price point, are people gonna be all over that? Like, the thought of on Steam seeing Ninja Gaiden 4 for $79.99, potentially, we're talking about Xbox published games here. That's insanity to me, especially when you look at a Death Stranding 2. and a Yote being $70 still. It's just the comparative aspects, and this all begs the question, what is GTA 6 going to be priced at? That is going to be such an interesting story to follow as well. That'll do it for me. Certainly want to hear your guys' thoughts, and I'm telling you guys, Sony is coming up. They've already upped the price of PS Plus without giving you any value proposition increase. I'm sure the PS5 price increase is coming up here shortly, especially given that they've done it in other regions, but we'll see how that turns out. If you have yet to, that Astrobot PS5 bundle usually can be found for $450. Just saying, probably would be a good pickup, but that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.